Hello everyone, welcome to another Daily Gym. Today is Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. And today I want to ask a question. What if the richest people in the world received their money in much less transactional ways? Maybe I'll finesse the title. But the idea is, what if some of the richest people, the people who had the most financial wealth, the most financial power in the world, received their money in a different way, received it in a way that was much less transactional than the way that they currently receive it? So if you want to look at, we can go back in the history of the U.S. in terms of rich people, wealthy people, financially wealthy people, and you look at the Rockefellers and the Carnegies and some of these families who I believe often made a lot of their money through steel or through oil, like the Getty family, and at some later point became a philanthropist and gave their money away. But my hypothesis is that the way that we receive money matters. In other words, the way that we receive money often is the way that we give money. So the way that we receive gifts, the way that we receive love is often the way that we give love. So it's not just related to money. And so if we were to receive it in highly transactional ways, like, say, for example, having a monopoly over the steel industry and gouging prices on people because they couldn't go anywhere else for steel. Now, I'm not exactly sure this is what happened, but this is my hypothesis about what happened in the past. Hypothesis about something in the past. This is my current belief of what may have happened in the past. They called them robber barons for a reason. I'm not fully sure on why, but I think it's related to that. And so having a monopoly and squeezing as much profit as one can out of, I am going to give you this thing only if you give me this money. And because nobody else is offering the thing, you're going to have to give me a lot of money for it. And so that can lead, I believe, to highly transactional interactions with people, receiving the money in a very transactional way. And then if they even get to the point of philanthropy and giving the money to somebody else, they may give it in a highly transactional way. One of the challenges in the nonprofit industry, at least in the U.S., is restricted funding, giving grants that have to specifically be used on this thing. Okay, so they're not really just giving, they're saying, I know what's best here. I'm going to give you this money only if you use it on this thing. Well, that sounds quite transactional. And you're going to have to give me a big report telling me exactly how you did it. And before we even give you the money, you're going to have to come up with a huge proposal telling me exactly how you're going to use it. So it becomes, I would say, highly transactional. They are, in a way, donating, but they're purchasing a specific product, whether that's more schools or whether that's more bed nets for malaria, et cetera, et cetera. But then even if you don't look at it even if they don't get to the point of the philanthropy, which you could argue is much less transactional of just being stuck in quid pro quo, I'm going to give you this, you're going to give me that mentality. Sorry, I kind of deviated a bit, but I'm just thinking a lot about the Elon Musks of the world and the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world who have literally made multi-generational fortunes, national, multi-generational fortunes. They could support probably huge families across many generations off of transactional interactions. But then how do we expect these people to therefore be less transactional, to be more communal, to give unconditionally, again, whether that's money or whether that's love, to just see that it's possible to give somebody something without immediately expecting anything in return, maybe only like a smile or a thank you card or something, just appreciation, kind of an emotional return on things. I don't know. I think it's really hard to expect these people, not even these people, I think it's really hard to expect a human being to receive something very transactionally and then to give generously or unconditionally. I think it's really hard because if we receive transactionally, I think we get stuck into the mindset of transaction. And so it's like, can you imagine someone who has a really open heart, who is super generous in giving, selling drugs? Probably not. Because the mere act of selling drugs where you have to hide from the cops and you have to lie to maybe the people who are buying from you because you're trying to squeeze as much profit as you can, perhaps, because you don't know if there's going to be another sale, so it's a one-time sale maybe, and you're trying to like jack up the price as much as possible because, okay, I don't, maybe I'll never see this person again and they're going to try to screw me, so I'm going to try to screw them. How do you do those types of interactions day in, day out, and then have a less transactional, have a much more generous, unconditional interaction with other people? I think it's really hard. And I think this is a fundamental aspect that we are not talking about when it comes to trying to get us to be better at resolving conflict, when it tries to get us to be better at loving each other, is that it's really hard to love other people unconditionally when so many of the interactions we have with other humans, especially in the realm of money, tend to be more transactional, especially in the realm of money. So, yes, you have more highly transactional realms of money, realms of receiving money. One of the lower ones probably is working at a salaried job where you negotiate your contract once a year, maybe it's once every 5 years or something. But even then, if you don't show up, you get fired. So the money stops coming. The money only comes because you keep arriving. If you stop arriving, the money stops coming. So it is still very transactional. This money is coming because you are doing this specific job. If you stop doing this specific job or you don't do this job well, the money will stop coming. So even then, being an employee, being employed, has a very transactional nature to it. And so if this is how most of us are spending most of our time, and it's how we receive the vast majority of our money, then why are we surprised that most people, especially the ones who have a lot of money, who received a lot of money through this means, see the world in a transactional lens? Think that everything has to have a condition. That if somebody gives you something, they're just doing it because they have a secret agenda, because they actually want you to do this thing. And if you stop doing this thing, they're going to stop giving to you. You only love me because blah, blah, blah. And if I stop doing blah, 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 you won't love me anymore. No, not necessarily. But if we've been conditioned to that, ironically, through the conditional transaction of money, then because money is one of the biggest transactions, right? Work and money is one of our most common interactions and transactions throughout the day. We even call them transactions. We don't even call them interactions. We call them transactions. Then it can, I think, deeply embed into our psyche, deeply embed into our behaviors. And then we wonder why we don't have more love, unconditional love in society. And so what I'm really trying to challenge is this idea of how to receive money. Because even if you look at somebody like a president, or even if you look at somebody like the Pope, his job is still very conditional. He has to do this, and if he doesn't do this, he will lose his job. Now, he may not get paid a generous salary, but he probably gets free housing, he gets a free Pope-mobile, he gets to use all these different things, and if he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, he loses it, I would assume. And so even people we would assume, like the ones running nonprofits or religious organizations, or even the president of a country, have very conditional, very transactional relationships with the work. Maybe not as transactional as being in war or something to that level, but there's still kind of, I will do this if and only, I will receive money if and only I do this. If and only if I do this. And so, yeah, just reflecting on that, because I wonder what it would be like if we actually received money in unconditional ways. If we received money just to receive money, if people gave us love just to give us love, and that they would still give love even if we didn't do something that they wanted us to do. Or how they don't even know what we're doing. They're just giving love regardless of knowing what we're doing with it. I wonder how that would change how we interact with each other. My hypothesis is that if we receive money in this way, we will become more loving. And sorry, that was a phone call. My hypothesis is if we receive money in this way, we become more loving. If we receive money unconditionally, we will give money more unconditionally. We will become more generous. The more generously we receive things, the more generously we give things, not just money, but love, attention, energy, all these different things. And so that's the kind of world I want to live in, and that's why I'm working so hard and really trying to iterate on this concept of Leading Hearts Fund. This idea of how do we start by giving money, giving financial power to those people who we think are giving so much love, so much unconditional care to the world, that are fighting so hard. They get into conflict, they will resolve conflict, they will fight so hard to stay loving, to stay kind, to stay caring towards themselves and other people. How do we financially lift these people up and perpetuate this? Because if we expect them to make their money through transactional ways, I believe the likelihood is that it will reduce the love that they're sharing with the world, because they will start to see the world in a more transactional way. I don't know how compatible those two ways are, to receive money more transactionally and then to give love more unconditionally. I just don't think they're very compatible. So I think if we want people to give unconditionally, we must give unconditionally to them. And that includes money. That includes financial power. And so it's an experiment I want to try. I would love to connect with some researchers who want to try this experiment on a kind of a local level. But this is kind of a living, live experiment that I would like to try. So if you're on board with it, please check out Leading Hearts Fund, leadingheartsfund.com or leadinghearts.fund. And hell, if you want to support me, I would be grateful, because, man, there's so many things I'd like to do if I had more financial power in this world. Yes, a lot of people would say that, but if I receive money in this unconditional way, I know I can give so much to the world in an unconditional way. And I have been for a long time, and I'm excited to do more of it. So thank you very much. Talk to you tomorrow.